Whatever worked for your marketing 8 years ago, it doesn't work anymore. It's completely obsolete. We just did a final report. I mean, every time we do this, it just reaffirms what we already know, but we do it anyway. So we had a client, and they just spent $135,000, and we figured out they got 1,000 leads. So basically, average cost per lead was $135. Now, let me just tell you one interesting part. The fact that this client was actually measuring their cost per lead, to me, for developers, is groundbreaking. Because most developers, you ask them their cost per lead, and they look at you like you're speaking, Chinese. What do you mean cost per lead? What do you mean cost per lead? They don't even do the math. They don't even figure out how many leads and where they got it. So the fact they actually knew what I was talking about was amazing. But we looked at the last 1,000 leads. Now, let me tell you the biggest challenge that developers have. Residential, commercial. The challenge is they're using old world technologies to measure their performance. How many of you have been to a sales office where they ask you to fill out a reg card? Okay? Right. Let me tell you what we've learned with reg cards, and we do this all the time. We take reg card data, and then we match it with what we know. Because remember, we can track how you really found us. We also have a different 800 number on every marketing piece. So whether it's an email, a direct mail, a billboard, every single piece that we do has a unique 800 number and a unique URL. So we know the reality versus what people tell us. 70% of the data on reg cards is complete baloney. People will check off the first button. They don't mean to lie to you, but again, they can't remember what they had for breakfast yesterday. How can they possibly remember how they came about your project? What I'm going to share with you is, having done this 100 times now and doing final reports for clients to figure out what worked, what didn't, I'm just going to tell you the reality. Now, you're not going to believe this till you actually study it yourself, but I'll just kind of tell you what we've learned. The number one thing you want to understand is how the world has changed pre-1999 to today. And the way to look at this is pre-Google, okay, after Google. And that's because really Google has changed the dynamics of how we market. Let me give you some examples. And it's really 20th century thinking versus 21st century, because really 2000 was a dividing line. In the 20th century, demand generation was outbound. Okay, so we're always about cost. All media is always priced, cost per thousand, cost per million, right? Today, it's all about acquisition cost. And Google was one of the companies that helped us define that. So instead of going to the Toronto Star and they say, well, we have a million people, and that's how we price it, versus Google's, you pay for inbound leads. So you pay when somebody inbound clicks on a lead. There are companies like advertising.com where you can negotiate a real cost per registration. So you negotiate a fee with them. Let's say it's $100. And you only pay them when somebody has met your profile, your criteria, and they filled out a registration form and they hit submit. You just pay them when that action happens. Now, isn't that better than hoping and praying media versus pay for registrations? As technical as we're going to get today, it's all about selling to people. So let's say I went on a date. So I went on a date with a girl. We had an amazing date. We had the greatest time ever, okay? It couldn't have gone any better. But let's say I go back on the road. I forget to call her for several days. Well, let me tell you what happens after day one. Well, day one, she tells her friends I'm kind of a jerk. By day two, she's already called her mom and said I'm a jerk. By day three, if I don't follow up, I will never see this girl again. This is what happens. Let me tell you about your prospects. They register on your website on a Friday at 5:30. Here's the problem. You probably haven't assigned a lead manager to handle the weekend stuff, so they probably don't get a lead no one gets back to Monday. They hate you. They will never do business with you, and they'll tell 10 of their friends why not to do business with you. This is the reality of real-time customer service. If you don't have a process for that, you will not be in business in 5 years. That's the reality of what we're dealing with today. People's expectations because of the internet are transformed forever, and they'll never go back. It's just like anything else in humans. Once you've had a certain quality of clothes or suits, you don't go back down. Once you've had a certain quality of automobile, you don't go back down. You have a certain quality home, you don't go back down. It just gets better and better and better. Our expectations keep rising. Today, feedback cycle of days or weeks is completely obsolete. What we're going to talk about here is going to reshape your business. Because if you think about how most sales offices are kind of, 10 to 5 or 10, crazy hours. But you think about when all the leads are, it's weekends and evenings. I'm not saying you have to have your offices open all the time, but you need somebody like an internet lead manager ready, up till 9 p.m. Boom, getting back to people in real time. This is critical. So I don't care if it's residential, it's commercial, I don't care if you're selling ice cream, but you need to be ready when the customers are ready. The customer experience. The customer experience usually in the past was very segmented. Okay, well, this is what we're doing on our direct mail. Here's what we're doing on our print. Here's what we're doing with PR. Here's what we're doing on the web. It's very segmented. Today it's integrated. And let me just give you one little graphic here. This is the hub of everything. Everything you do now is around the web. So if you've got your PR activities, if you've got your direct mail, everything feeds to the web. Which means if you're doing a direct mail piece, you have to create a separate landing page on your website for that. If you're running a print ad, and I'm going to keep picking on the Toronto Star, you need a unique URL for the Toronto Star with a unique landing page. If you're doing something, I don't know, Wall Street Journal. So everything you're doing leads to the web. So the web is the hub of everything. So the web is not one of the different things you do now. It's the hub of everything you do.